Tim Wilson joins us now from the Maxim Institute. Tim, kia ora. Happy April Fool's Day, I think.
Morena, good morning, and happy April Fools to you. No, you are. I'm sure you are excluded in the Edelman Trust Barometer's distrust of the media. It's the media except for everyone, including everyone except for Andrew Urquhart.
Okay. Thank you for giving me a hall pass on that one. I mean, this is, though, seriously.
Oh, prank you.
Oh.
Sorry, couldn't resist.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
Fair enough. No, this is, though, disturbing reading. And, happy to include myself in this. There is a declining trust in media generally, perhaps particular social media, but it is, in fact, worse than that. It's not just distrust. It's a kind of a grievance industry that's developing here in New Zealand.
Correct. And look, the Acumen Edelman Trust Barometer is an annual survey. They surveyed about 1,100 Kiwis, which is statistically pretty robust. And then they put it in a global context. So where do we sit? Where we are at the moment is 67% of us express a grievance. Now, it may be a minor grievance or a more substantive grievance with business, government, media, NGOs, and the wealthy.
Wow.
Okay, so you think, well, what's the world average? And the world average is 61% for that same assessment. So we're world beaters in misery and self-pity. Well, that's a great way to kick off a Tuesday morning. But that's the results of the survey, and this narrative has been continuing. It's one of growing distrust.
And the sort of situation where you wish it was an April Fool's Day prank, but it's not. This is the truth. Now, for some people, they would have said, well, fair enough, distrust of politicians and media. We've known that for a while. But distrust of business, this is a growing, perhaps even a new problem in our society?
Yeah, it is. They're typically business. We have typically, New Zealanders, we're quite apolitical. We're quite suspicious of politicians in many ways. It's curious because I think there's a general sort of thought that government is benign, which you won't find in the United States, for example. Yeah. But anyway, politicians sort of rate around, what is it, lawyers, used car salesmen, journalists, etc. They're about the same level.
Yeah.
But the fact that there are no institutions that are trusted. So business typically, last year, business was doing well. But now it's no longer trusted. So when we look and society requires institutions to moderate these issues like distrust, and if we're not trusting those institutions, if there's nothing we feel we can turn to, it's an alarming trend. Yeah, let's put it that way.
Certainly, and moving from, I suppose, distrust to grievance, to having a sense of victimization, that not only do I not trust these people, but I believe that they're actively trying to get me. Perhaps social media hasn't helped here.
No, perhaps social media hasn't helped. But I think there's a number of reasons for this. And you could also say, and this is something that Acumen Edelman got into last year, was the economic conditions produce distrust as well. So when people are squeezed in the wallet, they start to look around and go, okay, who's to blame for this? There is that sense of grievance, of victimization. I'm gonna just pull back on our distrust of social media, because that actually was 28% last year. It's 20% this year. So it's down by, essentially one quarter. And these were low. This was a low base to start off with. Andrew, I think that's a good sign. Mm-hmm. I mean, anyone who has spent more than 30 seconds on social media knows that you cannot trust it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, and you would hope that social media would have less trust, because it's people with opinions that have no accountability or academic background, just saying, hey, here's my opinion. There's no peer review. There's no fact-checking on most of social media. We should expect a higher standard from our business leaders and politicians.
Yeah, we should, and we do, and that's a good thing. And the fact that we don't of social media, in the sense that we are more distrustful of it, I would say is a positive thing. And this made me reflect a bit about the place of distrust in our democratic process. And actually, a researcher here at Maxim, Dr. Stephanie Warboys, did a paper on trust last year, and she said that while noting that democracy depends on trust, she said, I'm going to quote her, strangely, democracy also depends on distrust. Democracy is a form of government that has its genesis in distrust. It proceeds from the view that it is a mistake to completely trust political elites to serve the common person's interests. And I think that's a really astute observation, and one that I suspect can help us just sort of visit some of these distrust figures. It depends how that distrust, where it originates from. If it's a seeking for truth, if it's based in a kind of humility, like, I'm not necessarily going to accept the word of this leader on face value. I'm going to interrogate it. I would submit that that's a positive thing.
A distrust of power, and particularly absolute power, leads to perhaps change within society. I mean, historically, that's led to revolutions in some cases. I mean, that's an interesting point, actually. Is this, I mean, we've seen a downward trend, but is this just a downward spiral to oblivion, or is this cyclical, perhaps? Are there times of distrust for good reason, leading to times when we're perhaps less cynical and more open-hearted?
Yeah, and there's an American political thinker, a guy called Samuel Huntington, who sort of delved into this. And in American history, he noted there were periods that Americans would go through times of cynicism towards their leadership, complacency, then hypocrisy. And after that, there were what he called paroxysms of creedal passion. And one of those bouts was the American Revolution, 1900s also, when Theodore Roosevelt and the progressives led a revolt against the interests of the system. And during those times, America has reset itself and said, you know what? Okay, so we're over all of this. This sort of, I guess, systems sort of tend to sort of atrophy and decay. But when people go, okay, what do we really care about? Then that's a positive. And one of the features of those times leading up to that, those outbursts of creedal passion is that authority, hierarchy, specialization, and expertise were widely questioned or rejected. It sort of sounds a bit like what we've got today. Now, I'm not saying America is the same as New Zealand. These are different places, but I'm saying, hey, you know what? Let's think about the way we deploy our distrust. If distrust is premised on a seeking for truth and done with humility, then that's got to be a good thing.
Yeah, and certainly brings hope into the equation. If it is a cyclical type of process rather than a downward spiral to oblivion, then there's hope that, okay, things are less than ideal at the moment, but maybe if we can confront this, hope for the future. Now, this article written by yourself is going to be posted on the Maxim website a little bit later this week, I understand, Tim?
Yeah, that's right. The title is Grievance Rules, Why Distrust Needn't Destroy Us, and it'll be up on the Maxim website. So please come and have a look at it, have a read. You can distrust me if you like, as long as you do it thoughtfully and with a sense of humility.
Exactly. Maxim.org.nz. Love the work that you do. Hope that you enjoy the rest of April Fool's Day morning. Tim, thank you so much for joining us.
I'll look forward to a prank or two. Bless you. Thanks, Andrew.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.